Oh no! 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 And we're back here, folks, on the Sports Talk Nation. Michael Cohen here with you, and we all know why we are here on this podcast here today, here on the Sports Talk Nation. Joe Girardi is now the manager of the Philadelphia Phillies. You know, it gets to a point sometimes with these teams, especially these teams here in the New York metropolitan area, where there's just nothing else to say anymore. What else can you say? What else can be said that has been said before, that we haven't complained about before, and that we haven't addressed before? Because, yes, the New York Mets have found a way, once again, to screw the pooch. They have found a way, once again, to put themselves behind the proverbial 8-ball, and now all of the attention, and now all the criticism, is right on the shoulders of this general manager, Brodie Van Wagenen, who I've never been crazy about to begin with. All the onus is now on him after what has happened here today and over the ensuing weeks leading up to today. Because, as I said before, when we were talking about who was going to be the potential candidate to replace Mickey Callaway when the Mets let him go, and we brought up the idea of Joe Girardi, and I said it's really hard to fathom the Mets going out there and paying Joe Girardi the money that he would be looking for, and giving him this kind of say and personnel that many people believe that he would look for in an opportunity. So, considering all those things, I said there was no chance that Joe Girardi is going to be the manager of the New York Mets. And here we are. It is now October the 24th, and we can officially say that Joe Girardi will have nothing to do with the New York Mets as he goes to the Philadelphia Phillies. And you know what? This is a shame on the Mets, because from everything that we have read, all the reports that came out, the Mets had interviewed Girardi apparently twice, and still they couldn't come to any concise decision on whether to give this guy, who has won a World Series championship with the New York Yankees, a manager who had a winning record every single year he managed in New York, a guy who found ways to win with clubhouses that had Alex Rodriguez and Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, all these big-time personalities. He found ways to win, and all the pressures that come with being the manager of the New York Yankees, he found a way to win consistently. Maybe he didn't make the playoffs all the time. Maybe they didn't get to the World Series all the time. They only got there the one time in 2009. But the fact is, they were in contention all the time. And if you were the Mets, and you see this happening over the last decade, leading up to 2017, and you can't sit there and say, man, you know what, wouldn't it be something if we could bring this guy in to manage this team, a team that has so many young pieces, so many budding stars, potentially a 2-time Cy Young Award winner in Jacob deGrom, a solid starter who's trying to get back to being one of the best in the game in Noah Syndergaard. You have Pete Alonso, of course, the Rookie of the Year this year, 53 home runs. A lot of other good pieces in Jeff McNeil and Brandon Nimmo and J.D. Davis. We can go up and down the lineup, as I said before. And the Mets did not think that Joe Girardi was a fit with the New York Mets. And the only reason he was not a fit with the New York Mets is for two very simple reasons. One, the Mets didn't want to pay for a manager like Girardi. Okay? And two, they want to have control of the manager. They want to have control of the lineup card, and Girardi, being a guy who has had some friction with the Yankee front office towards the end of his tenure there, wouldn't be a good mesh with Jeff Wilpon, who, let's be honest, is really running the show here, and Brodie Van Wagenen, the general manager, who we all know from the published reports at the end of last season, or the middle of last season, would call into the dugout and giving instructions to Mickey Callaway. Okay, they want to have someone that they can have control over the lineup, what have you, player decisions, who's going to sit, who's going to play day in and day out. They want to have that say and that control. And with someone like Girardi, they're not going to have that. They would not be able to do such a thing. So that's why Joe Girardi is not the manager of the New York Mets, and that's why he's going to Philadelphia, because the Phillies, let's be honest, the Phillies, a lot of people are upset, a lot of Met fans are upset, and understandably so, saying that, hey, look, we have a win-now team. The Phillies have a win-now team, too. I mean, you don't go out there if you're Philadelphia and spend the money they did and the commitment they made to Bryce Harper unless you think you can go out there and win a World Series. Now, I have some questions about the Phillies' rotation. You know, I don't think the starting rotation, certainly the top of the rotation, is as good as the Mets are by comparison, but they are putting their money where their mouth is. They're saying, hey, look, we got Bryce Harper here. We made a bunch of other big moves last season to get this team positioned, and we underachieved with Gabe Kapler. We want to win. We want a winner, and we want Joe Girardi, and they're going to bring him in for a 3-year contract. I don't know what the terms of the deal are beyond 3 years and an option for a 4th year in 2023, but he is going to be the manager of the Philadelphia Phillies. And look, I don't know how successful it's going to work out. I don't know if the Phillies are going to sit here and a year from now we're going to be talking about the Phillies in the World Series. I have no idea. But the fact is, the Mets had an opportunity here to bring in a World Series winning manager and a guy who would give this franchise some cachet from the dugout. And they blew it. And they decided instead to go a very familiar route for them, and that is going ahead and bringing in these potentially inexperienced manager to become the next manager of this team. The 3 names that have popped up as the favorites: Carlos Beltran, the former outfielder for this franchise from 2005 to 2011. He believes that he's ready to manage. Now, he has never coached at any level before. Does this mean he can't do the job? Does this mean he can't have a winning record at this job? No. I mean, take a look at Aaron Boone in the Bronx. Now, a little bit of a different situation. You have a ready-made team there with the Yankees, but it's not impossible. Beltran, of the 3 remaining candidates, would probably be the more attractive of the 3 candidates that I'm about to mention here for this job because of his connections to the franchise, his familiarity with the fan base, and also from the fact that he just recently retired in 2017 with the Astros, and players certainly are going to respect him when he walks into the clubhouse. Whether he's a great manager or not, I have no idea, and that's the big gamble the Mets are going to potentially make with him. The other candidates are Tim Bogar, who is the first base coach for the Washington Nationals. His name has come up a lot here in the last few days. Now, the one thing about Bogar that you have to like is that he does have some managerial experience. He was an interim manager for the Texas Rangers several years ago. Had only 22 games. I know it's a very small sample size, but he was the manager there for a very short time at the interim basis. He's been a coach in Major League Baseball for a very long time with many different franchises, including obviously the Nationals, the Seattle Mariners. I brought up the Texas Rangers as well, Tampa Bay Rays. So he's been around for a long time. In Tim Bogar, he would be the experienced choice of what's left to consider here for this Mets job. And then the other choice that has been mentioned is Eduardo Perez, who is a commentator on ESPN, who, from what I understand, his really only experience in the dugout is managing the Puerto Rican team down in Puerto Rico for a very short period of time. And again, another very risky choice. And then there's the mystery candidate. Who is the mystery candidate for the New York Mets? Who is it going to be? And the Mets decided to drop this bomb on us, saying that of all the candidates they have a mystery candidate who could be the next manager of the Mets, and it's anybody's guess what that may be. And, I got to take this from what I heard on the radio this morning. One fan called into one of the local radio stations here, sports talk stations here in New York, and said that the Mets have taken their managerial search and turned it into the Gong Show with this mystery candidate. And he is absolutely right, because it is an absolute circus right now. No one knows who this candidate is. No, everyone's guessing. Is it Alex Rodriguez? Is it Jessica Mendoza, who is, apparently some kind of a scout or assistant or something like that in the Mets front office? Some people think that maybe it's her as a potential bombshell candidate. Maybe it's Bobby Bonilla. Hey, the Mets owe him $1.19 million every year through 2035, so why not him? Some people said Bobby Valentine. Well, I don't see Bobby Valentine coming back to work with this messy front office. That's not happening. Maybe Wally Backman. I don't know about that either. But everyone's throwing different names out there, trying to guess, trying to predict who this mystery candidate may be. And the Mets are just going to continue to drag this along and, make this a little bit of a circus, get some attention because of the now 8 jobs that were vacant coming into the offseason. The Met job has garnered the most attention because the Mets wanted to gain the most attention. Joe Maddon quietly goes to the Angels. David Ross quietly goes to the Chicago Cubs. Now Girardi going over to the Phillies. That was the big splash there. And really nobody else cares about no one seems to talk about the Padres or the Pirates or any other moves that are being made. The Mets right now are front and center of the notable teams looking for a manager, and it's a big question as to who that might be. Now, of the 3 main candidates that we know of, Beltran, Bogar, and Perez, who would be the best candidate of the 3? This is not easy. I would probably say Bogar only because of his lengthy experience as a coach in the majors. That's really about it. If you're looking for someone who has experience, Bogar has experience as a coach. And again, he was an intern for a very short time. This does not mean I'm saying here Tim Bogar is going to win take the Mets to the World Series, and they're going to win 96 games in 2020. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying of the 3 remaining candidates that we know of, who would be the better of the 3? Based on resume, Bogar would be the better of the 3. That's all I'm saying. Beltran, of course, gives you the most comfort level because you all know who Carlos Beltran is. We just don't know what kind of manager or coach he would be. Kind of the same thing with Eduardo Perez. Really no familiarity with him other than he worked at ESPN. So I would say from best to worst case scenario, I guess you have to say Bogar 1, Beltran 2, and Perez 3. It's not looking good if you're the Mets. Oh man. It's just not looking good. I just, like I said, I just don't know what to say anymore for the Met fan. I don't know what to say. This franchise, they just don't seem interested in winning. I think it's the best way to put it. Washington Nationals are 2 wins away from the World Series championship. And they've stunned the Houston Astros in that World Series so far in the first 2 games. Began big hits in big spots, driving in runners in scoring position, something the Yankees could not do during the ALCS. The Nationals could be the world champions. The Braves are the NL East champions. The Phillies have Joe Girardi. And the Mets right now have a lot of talented players and really no direction. And that's a damn shame. That is a damn shame. Because this is a team that had, coming at the end of the year, had so much potential and was in the wild card race, believe it or not, to the end of the year. Got themselves back in it. They need somebody to really light a fire. Maybe Bogar's that guy. Maybe Beltran's that guy. I have no idea. I really don't know. But right now, October 24th, on the evening of October 24th, if you're a Met fan, you are crying in your soup. Remember, folks, to follow us here on Sports Talk Nation on Twitter at OpenMicNJ, Facebook.com/OpenMicProgram, and also like and subscribe right here to the Sports Talk Nation here on YouTube. Got some more videos coming up. We got to talk a little bit about the Yankees. We're going to try to get a guest on to talk about what happened with the Yankees. Obviously, losing the ALCS. We'll kind of recap their season. We still got to do that. And, of course, a lot of stuff going on with the NFL. Sam Darnold seeing ghosts. The Giants are a walking ghost, for that matter. A lot of stuff going on. So remember to like and subscribe. Keep it posted right here.